Hi guys, we are going to learn chapter 6 of the Foundation Chartered Accountant course of ICANN, and chapter 6 has Labor Act. First, before starting the act, we must know what labor is. Labor means a worker or an employee who is employed without sorry Labor means a worker or an employee who is employed with any job title performing physical or intellectual work for the employee. Labor means a worker or an employee who is employed with any job title performing physical or intellectual work for the employee. Now, what are the objectives of the Act? Why was the Act made in the first place? To end labor exploitation. So, Labor Act was made for the benefit or for the safeguarding of laborers, their rights, and making them aware of the rights that they have, and also making sure that the employers are fulfilling their duties. So, the objectives of the Act are to end labor exploitation, to make clear provisions regarding the rights and benefits of the workers, to make clear provisions relating the rights and duties of the employer. So, there are three things: to end labor exploitation, to make clear provisions regarding rights and benefits of the workers, to make clear provisions regarding the rights and the duties of the employer. So, the history of Labor Act. Labor Act was first introduced as Labor Act 2048. It came to uh, it was enforced after the establishment of democracy. So, Labor Act 2048. Similarly, to provide supplementary guidelines for Labor Act 2048, Labor Rules 2050 was actually promulgated or introduced. Then, the Labor Act 2048 was substituted with Labor Act 2074. It was effective from the sorry, it was effective from September 4, 2017, and it had introduced significant changes. Labor Rule 2075 was supplementary guidelines for Labor Act 2074. So it's just 1 year below. So Labor Act 2074, Labor Rules 2075. Okay, so let's see. There are two places where labor related disputes are settled, or documents that are required for the compliance of the act is to be submitted. Number one is labor office, and second is labor court. So now let's go on towards the provisions. Section 1 oftentimes has the name of the Act. Section 2 has the definition, and from Section 3 the actual provisions start. So, Section 3, to act as a minimum standard. Section 3, to act as a minimum standard. Labor Act, to act as a minimum standard for the rights relating to labor. To act as a minimum standard. Labor Act, to act as a minimum standard for the rights relating to labor. If someone does or gives any benefits or salary or any sort of things mentioned in the Labor Act below the amount or duration mentioned, then the employment or the contract of employment itself is considered to be void. So, Section 4. So, what was Section 3? Do you remember what was Section 3? Section 3 was to act as a minimum standard. Section 3 was to act as a minimum standard. Now, let's move on to Section 4. Prohibition to engage bonded labor. Section 4 says prohibition to engage in bonded labor. Labor pledged for the repayment of debt is known as bonded labor and is illegal. Section 4 says prohibition to engage bonded labor. The exceptions of bonded labor are performed a duty being a Nepali citizen, which is imposed by the government of Nepal, or performed by a person in consideration of imprisonment, work required to be performed for the benefit of a community being its member. Section 3 was to act as a minimum standard. Section 4 was prohibition to engage in bonded labor, and the exceptions to prohibition to bonded labor was performed a duty being Nepali citizen imposed by government of Nepal, performed by a person in consideration of imprisonment, and work is required to be performed for the benefit of the community being its member. Now let's move on to section 5, prohibition to engage children. Section 5, prohibition to engage children. Children below the age of 14 are considered children as per the Child Protection Act. Person above 14 to 18, so 14, below 14 they can't work at all. 14 to 18 they can work following safety protocols. So 14 to 18 they can work or be involved in some works following safety protocols. Section 3 was to act as a minimum standard. Section 4 was to prohibition to engage in bonded labor. Section 5 was prohibition to engage children. Now section 6, prohibition to discriminate. No person shall be discriminated on the basis of age, gender, caste, religion, etc. However, following acts not to be considered as discrimination. So no one can be discriminated on the basis of gender, caste, religion, ethnicity, etc. But there are a few exceptions to this. What are the exceptions? Preference given as per the inherent nature of work. So anything skill based performance is given to the inherent nature of work. Easy work allocated to pregnant female workers. Priority. Feasible work allocated to physically disabled person. So section 6 says that it is prohibited to discriminate anyone on the basis of caste, gender, religion, ethnicity, etc., but with a few exceptions. The exceptions are preference given as per the inherent nature of work, easy work allocated to pregnant female worker, and uh, priority or feasible work allocated to physically disabled persons. So inherent nature of the work, pregnant female, and disabled or physically disabled people. Now section 7, no discrimination on pay of equal work. No discrimination in pay of equal work. Section 7 says there should be no discrimination in pay of equal work. So if you are getting the same amount of work as someone else, you should be getting paid the same. Workers shall not be discriminated on the pay on the basis of gender. Pay shall be calculated on the basis of nature of work, time consumed, productivity of employees, etc. So let's just revise one more time. Section 3 was to act as a minimum standard. Section 4 was prohibition to engage in bonded labor. Section 5 was prohibition to engage children. Section 6 was prohibition to discriminate. Section 7 was discrimination on pay of no discrimination on the pay of equal work. Now, section 8. Right to form trade unions. Right to form trade unions. Section 8. Right to form trade unions. Section 8. Right to form trade unions. Employees may form a trade union or get affiliated with authorized trade union. Section 8. Right to form trade union. Right to form trade union. Right to form trade union. Employees may form a trade union or get affiliated with authorized trade union. Section 9. Right to remedy. Right to remedy. Section 9. Right to remedy. Section 9. Right to remedy. Section 9. Right to remedy. Remedy under this act shall be provided if any provisions are violated. If any provisions relating to this act are violated, then there will be right to remedy. Right to remedy. Okay, let's revise. What was section 3? to act at a minimum standard. What was Section 4? Prohibition to engage in brute force. What was Section 5? Prohibited to engage children. What was Section 6? Did you forget Section 6? I think you forgot Section 6. Prohibition to discriminate. Section 6. Prohibition to discriminate. Section 6. Prohibition to discriminate. Now, Section 7. No discrimination on pay of equal work. No discrimination on pay of equal work. Section 8. Right to form trade unions. Section 8. Right to form trade unions. Section 8. Right to form trade unions. Section 9. Right to remedy. Section 9. Right to remedy. Section 9. Right to remedy. Now, let's go to Section 10. This is one of the most important provisions. Section 10, types of employment. Section 10, types of employment. There are 5 types of employment: time-based employment, task-based employment, part-time employment, casual employment, and regular employment. Let's review one of them one by one. Time-based employment. Employees are assigned for a specific time. It could be any time. Employees are assigned for a specific time. They are time-based employment. Task-based employment. Assigned to a specific work. This could be any projects or any work like that that is a task-focused employment. For example, we can take construction because it's task-based, right? So if you complete one project, then you are employed during the duration of having done that work. So, time based employment, task based employment. Next, part time employment. Listen to me very carefully. Part time employment, labor working 35 or less hours in a week. Laborers working 35 hours or less in a week. So, 48 hours. 48 hours is the maximum that you can work in a week, right? So if we subtract 35, 13 hours, if you work 13 hours less or lesser even than that, you are considered as a part-time employee. Anyone who is working 35 hours or less in a week is known as part-time employee. How many hours? 35 hours. How many hours? 35 hours. Okay, 35 hours. Okay, now we have casual employment. Casual employment. Labor working 7 days or less in a month is known as casual employment. Laborers working 7 days or less in a month. Seven or less in a month. So if you just come like, hey dude, I'm gonna work 3 days a month, then you are casual employee. You are under casual employment. Part-time was 35 hours or less in a week. Casual employment was 7 days or less in a month. And then regular employment. Any employment that is not a time-based, task-based, part-time or casual employment is known as regular employment. Any employment that is not time-based, task-based, part-time or casual employment is known as regular employment. Right. So, what was Section 6? No discrimination. Right? No discrimination on what? Prohibition to discriminate. Section 6 was prohibition to discriminate. Section 7 was no discrimination on pay of equal work. No discrimination on pay of equal work. Section 8 was right to form trade unions. Section 9 was right to remedy. And Section 10 was types of employment. What are the types of employment? Number 1, time-based employment. Number 2, task-based employment. Number 3, part-time employment. Number 4, casual employment. Number 5, regular employment. What is regular employment? Any employment that is not time-based, task-based, part-time or casual is known as regular employment. How many hours or less in a part-time? 35 hours or less in a week. How many days in casual employment? less than 7 or less than 7 in a month. Okay, yeah, okay, let's move on. Section 11, employment contract. Section 11, employment contract. Casual employment, verbal or written. Other employment, majorly in writing. So if you have casual employment, you have the option to have a verbal contract or a written contract. And anything other than that, you need to have it mandatorily in writing. So casual employment, you can have it verbal or written. But time based, task based, part time, and regular employment, you have to do it compulsorily in return. Don't forget your return contracts. Don't forget your return contracts. So, employment contracts, section 11, casual employment, verbal or written, other employment mandatorily in writing. And other matters that needs to be included in an employment contract. What do we need in an employment contract? Type of employment. What were the type of employment? 5 type of employment, right? And then next, A. Type of employment. B. Job description of the employee. What do you do and what do you don't do? A. Types of employment. B. Job description of the employee. C. Salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee. Salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee. Salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee. D. Working hours of the employee. E. Others as prescribed by the employer. So what are the matters that needs to be discussed in the what are the matters that need to be discussed in employment contract? Types of employment. Number one, job description of the employee. Number three, salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee. Salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee. Working hours of the employee and others as prescribed by the employer. And others as prescribed by the employer. Others as described by prescribed. Others as prescribed by the employers. Types of employment, job description of the employee, salary and benefits to be obtained by the employee, working hours of the employee, others as prescribed by the employer. Okay, so we have done right now from section 3 to section 11. Section 3 to section 11 to act as a minimum standard to employment contract. Act as a minimum standard to employment contract. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right. So do you remember all those provisions, what we just read? You should remember what we just read. So right now we did till 11. Tomorrow we are going to do from section 12 to section 12, section 13, section 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, then 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 144, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 38, 107, 106. We're going to do that. Be prepared. Okay, bye.